I sat up all night sewing curtains for their new house, thinking it would make them happy. My daughter-in-law ripped them down and said, "We don't want your help. Don't come back here again." My son just watched as she threw them in the trash, my hands still raw from the needle. I'm a 64-year-old widow living in Topeka, Kansas. I never thought I'd be sharing something like this, but I don't even recognize my son anymore. I'm still trying to understand how everything fell apart so fast. It all started with curtains, but it ended with something so much deeper, something that cut me in a place I didn't know could hurt this bad. My son Bradley used to be my whole world. He was our only child. My husband and I couldn't have more after a rough delivery. So we poured everything into him. He was a sweet boy, always trying to help, always wanting to be close. When I lost my husband 6 years ago, Bradley was the only reason I got out of bed in the morning. He'd stop by every Sunday for lunch. Sometimes just to talk. He said he'd never leave me alone. I believed him. Then he met Amanda. She was new in town. Moved here from Colorado. Pretty girl, smart, knew what she wanted. A little cold, but I figured she just needed time to warm up. I gave her space, never pushed. I invited her over for dinner, offered help with wedding planning, gave her one of my mother's brooches for her bouquet. She took it all with tight smiles and nods. Not once did she call me Mom, even after they got married. But I told myself it didn't matter. Fast forward to 3 months ago. They finally closed on a house. First one. Just a little starter home on Cypress Lane, older but solid. I was happy for them. Amanda told me they had big plans for renovations. I asked what kind of style she was thinking, and she said modern farmhouse with cool tones. She mentioned soft blues and creams. I remembered that. I don't have much money. I live off Social Security and a little from a retirement fund. But I wanted to do something special. So I went down to the fabric store and spent $42.78 on the best material I could afford. Cream with light blue flowers. Good weight, washable, warm but not heavy. I sat at my sewing machine every evening for 5 days straight, cutting and measuring and sewing until my fingers ached. I had to take ibuprofen in the mornings just to loosen my knuckles. I even stayed up until 2 a.m. One night because I wanted the kitchen curtains to have hand-stitched details like my grandma used to do. I made matching tiebacks. Even little table placemats with stitched corners. I ironed them all, folded them neatly, wrapped them in fresh tissue paper, and placed them in a clean cardboard box. I wrote a note, "I'm so proud of you both. I hope these make your new house feel more like home. Love always, Mom." I was proud when I looked at that box. It wasn't just fabric, it was love. It was hours of care, thought, and memory. I thought Amanda might finally see I just wanted to be part of their lives. I wasn't trying to take over. Just support. I texted Amanda the next morning and said I had something special I'd love to bring by. Her response, "We're busy, but I guess you can swing by quick." No thank you. No smile. When I pulled into their driveway, Bradley was already inside. Amanda opened the door, no greeting, just stepped aside and said, "Come in, I guess." I walked in, box in hand. She didn't ask what was inside. Bradley was on the couch, staring at his phone. I called his name softly. He looked up, gave me a tired half-smile, then looked back down again. "I brought you something," I said, trying to sound cheerful. Amanda crossed her arms. "What is it?" "Curtains. And some placemats. I made them for your kitchen and living room." Her face changed. She didn't smile. She didn't even pretend. She turned to Bradley and said, "Did you seriously not tell her?" He blinked. "Tell her what?" "That we already picked everything out with the interior designer. She's coming Monday." Interior designer. For a 2-bedroom starter house in Topeka? I said, "Oh, I didn't know." I just thought, since you mentioned blue. Amanda walked over, took the box from my hands without a word, opened it, and pulled out the fabric. She held it up like it was a wet towel. This looks like something out of a nursing home. My heart dropped. Bradley didn't say a word. Just kept looking at his phone. Amanda walked straight into the kitchen, opened the trash can, and shoved the curtains down into it. All of it. The tiebacks, the placemats, the handwritten note. "We don't want your help," she said. "And don't come back here again." I just stood there. My hands were still sore from sewing, my shoulders aching from bending over that machine. I couldn't even speak. I looked at my son. He looked at me once. Then looked away. I turned and left. I don't even remember walking back to my car. I remember the cold sting in my chest and the ringing in my ears, but not the walk. I sat in the driver's seat for 15 minutes, trying not to cry. Then I cried anyway. I thought maybe Bradley would call. That night. The next day. Even just to say sorry. He didn't. Nothing. A week passed. Then 2. Not a word. I started having dreams. Me standing at the window of their house, knocking, while they laughed inside and turned the lights off. Then something in me snapped. This wasn't about curtains. This was about how they saw me. About how they decided I didn't matter anymore. That I was some burden to be discarded like garbage. I raised Bradley better than this. I gave Amanda every chance. I've kept quiet for too long. Now, I'm going to make them regret treating me like I was nothing. This isn't just hurt anymore. It's war. It started slow. I didn't go over there again. I didn't text. I didn't call. I went quiet. But I wasn't done. I just needed time to think. I still saw Amanda at the grocery store sometimes. She'd pretend not to notice me. Once, she passed by me in the produce aisle and bumped her cart into mine without saying a word. She didn't even look at me. Just kept walking. Like I wasn't there. Bradley didn't come by for Mother's Day. First time in his life. No card. No call. Nothing. I sat on my porch with a slice of pie and just stared at the road. I waited all day, but he never showed. I cried again, but this time I was mad while I did. Mad at him. At myself. For letting this happen. For letting that woman take my son from me. Then, something unexpected happened. It started with a phone call. A friend from church, Margaret, called to ask if I'd heard about the fundraiser at Bradley and Amanda's place. Fundraiser? I said. What kind? Some backyard gathering, she said. Amanda's starting a little business. Home staging. She's using your son's name to get the real estate folks to show up. I almost dropped the phone. Home staging? A business? That house wasn't even fully renovated yet. And Amanda's never worked a day in home design. I knew, because I offered to help them paint the kitchen once, and she said she didn't need old lady advice. Margaret went on. She's telling people she got her start working with her mother-in-law, who passed down her love of fabrics. I froze. What? I asked, even though I'd heard her clear as day. That's what she said. That you helped her start. That you used to sew things for her business, and she's building on what you taught her. My mouth went dry. Amanda was using my work. The same curtains she threw away. The same skills she mocked. She was using my name to look good. Lying to everyone. And Bradley? He was there. Standing beside her, smiling, holding her hand. Going along with it. I went online that night. Found the Facebook page for her business. Amanda Lee Interiors. She had pictures posted from inside the house. My table. My placemats. My curtains. They weren't in the trash. She'd lied. They were hanging in her kitchen. She had captioned one photo, "Handmade charm, pieces passed down from my husband's mother, who inspired my love of cozy spaces." I stared at the screen. My vision blurred. My stomach twisted. I wanted to scream. She humiliated me. Kicked me out. Told me never to come back. But when people were watching, she used my things to make herself look sweet and creative. I wanted to show the world who she really was. So I started gathering everything. Every text. Every message. Photos. I even had a receipt from the fabric store, dated 3 days before I brought the curtains over. I took screenshots of her Facebook captions. I saved the photos. But I needed more. I needed proof. And I got it from someone I didn't expect. Her sister, Rachel. Rachel called me one afternoon. She'd always been polite to me. She lived in Kansas City but came down now and then. We'd had coffee together a few times. "I saw the business page," she said, her voice careful. "And I wanted to check in. Amanda said you were helping her with all of it, but I remembered you saying she didn't like your curtains." I paused. "She told people I helped her?" "She told everyone," Rachel said. "She even mentioned you in a newspaper interview. Said her husband's mother taught her everything she knows about fabrics and comfort." I nearly choked. "She threw those curtains in the trash. Told me not to come back." Rachel was quiet. Then she said, "You should know something. Amanda's using your work to pitch a partnership with one of the realtors here in KC. If she gets it, she'll be staging full homes across 3 counties." I sat there in silence. My hands started shaking again, but not from pain this time. I had something better than curtains now. I had the truth. And I was going to make sure Amanda never fooled anyone again. After I got off the phone with Rachel, I couldn't sit still. I walked around my house like I was trying to escape my own skin. I kept thinking about that photo, the one where she hung my curtains and smiled like she'd made them herself. The lie wasn't just personal now. It was public. It was feeding her career. So I made a plan. I didn't want to just expose her online. That would be too easy for her to spin. No, I wanted the truth to land where it mattered most, on the people who were about to invest in her lies. Realtors. Business owners. Clients. The ones who believed they were working with some warm, family-inspired designer with deep roots in her community. I reached out to Rachel again. I didn't want to get her involved too much, but I asked her to send me the names of anyone Amanda had pitched to in Kansas City. Rachel hesitated, but in the end, she sent me 5 names. One of them stood out, Beckett and Walsh Realty Group. Big firm. Known across Kansas and Missouri. If Amanda landed them, she'd be set. I did some digging and found out they were hosting a home expo the next weekend. Amanda was on the list of featured local designers. She'd have a booth, a speaking slot, and a table showcasing her inspirations. I felt sick just thinking about it. I printed everything. The receipt. Photos of my sewing setup. Old Facebook posts showing I'd been sewing for decades. The original photo I took of the curtains before I delivered them, same pattern, same stitching. I even included a copy of my handwritten note that I'd rewritten from memory. I put it all into a folder and mailed it, anonymously, to Beckett and Walsh's office manager. That would have been enough. But then something else happened. One morning, I opened my email and saw a message from Bradley. Short. Cold. Don't ever talk to Amanda's sister again. She's family. You're not. That broke something in me. I stared at those words for a long time. You're not family. I carried him. Raised him. Buried his father. Gave him everything. And now I was just some outsider. So I did something I wasn't sure I'd ever do. I contacted a lawyer. See, Amanda had taken credit for my handmade work. She used my name and my story for business gain, without my permission. I wasn't trying to get rich. But if she was going to profit off a lie, I was going to make damn sure it cost her. My lawyer, Mr. Dillard, was older, kind, and didn't laugh when I told him what happened. He said I had a real case, misappropriation and fraud, possibly more if Amanda used my story in contracts or press. He asked me for everything I had. I gave it to him in a box. 2 days later, Amanda's business Facebook page disappeared. Then her Instagram. Then her Etsy store. It was like watching her get erased piece by piece. I found out later Beckett and Walsh pulled out. Word got around that she'd misrepresented her work. Some of the agents she'd pitched to even posted vague warnings on their profiles, stuff like always verify the source of creative work before signing anything. But that wasn't the real twist. The real twist came when Rachel called me again, whispering like she was hiding in her own house. Amanda's freaking out, she said. She thinks someone hacked her account. Bradley is furious. He thinks I leaked something. He's threatening to cut off the entire family. I asked her, quietly, does he know it was me? No, she said. Not yet. But, there's something else. You need to hear this. I braced myself. She's pregnant. I didn't say anything. She just found out, Rachel continued. She hasn't told many people. But she's scared you'll ruin her reputation even more. She said if people find out she used her unborn child's grandma story as a fake marketing angle, her career's done. That was the moment I realized what Amanda was really afraid of. It wasn't me. It was the truth. She built her brand on this fantasy of family and heart and tradition, all the things she never actually wanted from me. And now that fantasy was unraveling. She needed my name. My skills. My love. The very thing she threw away. Now she was scrambling to glue the mask back on while everything underneath rotted. I wasn't done yet. She was about to find out what happens when you try to erase someone who spent their whole life being invisible, until now. I knew I had two options, stay quiet and fade away like she wanted, or finish what I started and make sure she never used me again. I chose the second. I told my lawyer I wanted to move forward. We filed an official cease and desist first. Then a claim of misappropriation, proof of her using my name, my handmade work, and personal story to market a business. That alone put a hold on every pending contract she had. We also notified local real estate companies. They couldn't risk being tied to something legally messy. But I still had one more card to play. One I had kept hidden. Months before any of this, I had started sewing again, not for Amanda, but for myself. I had made about 20 different sets of curtains, table runners, and pillow covers. I'd stored them in boxes, thinking maybe I'd give them as gifts someday. But now, I had a new idea. With Rachel's help, I set up a small booth at a local Sunday craft fair in the center of Topeka. I didn't use Amanda's name. I didn't even mention Bradley. The banner over my booth just read, "Handmade by Irene, honest stitching. Honest stories." People came up and asked me about the name. I told them what I always believed, every stitch tells the truth. And if it doesn't, you'll feel it. Rachel had quietly spread the word. Local vendors started stopping by. A few said things like, "So you're the Irene. We've heard about you." I just smiled and kept folding fabric. What I didn't expect was how many people showed up. People who used to follow Amanda's pages. Turns out, some of them had noticed how suddenly her social media vanished. Some even guessed the truth after comparing her work to older photos I had in my booth. It only took 1 week for my little craft fair booth to get picked up by a local magazine. They ran a full-page article with the headline, "Sewing the Truth, the Woman Behind the Real Designs." And under that? A photo of me, smiling with my hands in my lap. Raw, red knuckles. Blue flower curtains behind me. I thought Bradley might reach out after that. He didn't. Instead, I got a text from a number I didn't know. It was Amanda. Congratulations. You've ruined everything. Hope it was worth it. I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I typed back one sentence. You did that to yourself. She never replied. 3 weeks later, Rachel called again. Her voice was quieter than usual. You're not going to believe this, she said. Amanda's being investigated for business fraud. What? She used your name on some loan paperwork. Claimed you were a silent partner. There's an audit. The bank's demanding verification and she can't provide it. My knees actually buckled. I had to sit down. That explained the real reason she clung to my name so hard. She didn't just use me for branding, she used me, period. For money. For business credit. All without me knowing. That opened a whole new door for my lawyer. Fraud. False representation. Identity abuse. Now she wasn't just losing clients, she was facing charges. Bradley finally called. The sound of his voice made my stomach twist. But I let him talk. I didn't know, he said. About the loan. About the fraud. I swear. I said nothing. She told me she just needed your story for credibility. I didn't think, you didn't think, I interrupted. When she threw away the curtains. When she told me never to come back. When you sat there and watched it happen. I'm sorry, he whispered. I'm not the one you need to say it to, I said. He didn't reply. I could hear him crying softly. I let him. Then I hung up. He hasn't called since. As for Amanda, she lost everything. The business folded. Her name is mud in Topeka and Kansas City now. The bank pressed charges. She's looking at fines and possibly jail time for forging my name on loan documents. No one will touch her now in the design world, not with the article, the receipts, the lawyer letters. She gave birth 2 months ago. I haven't seen the baby. And maybe that makes me cold, but I won't go back to being someone's doormat just because there's a child involved. I spent my life giving love that wasn't returned. I'll only show up when I'm respected. Not before. But I kept sewing. My booth now has a waiting list. I sell out every fair. People drive from neighboring towns just to buy a piece of honest work made by someone who tells the truth. Sometimes I still think about that day, when Amanda dumped the box in the trash. The way Bradley just watched. I still remember the feeling in my hands, the pain, the heat, the betrayal. But now, when I look at my fingers, I don't just see raw skin, I see strength. You want to know the real revenge? It wasn't the lawsuit. It wasn't the business crash. It wasn't even the article. The real revenge is this: Amanda built her whole brand on pretending to be me. Now she can't be anything at all. And the whole town knows the truth. Meanwhile, I found myself again. And I don't need their house. Or their thanks. Or their love. I built something better, with my own 2 hands.